Close your eyes. You are about to step through a door that has not been opened in 1,400 years. The year is approximately 622 of the Common Era. The place is a desert valley in the Hejaz region of Arabia. The city is Yathrib, about to be renamed forever. The population is a few thousand souls, spread across a network of mud brick homes, date palm groves, and tribal strongholds. And into this city, on a September morning, a man rides on a camel. He has just completed an 8-day journey through desert heat, traveling at night to avoid assassination. And he stopped in a cave for 3 days, while search parties scoured the roads behind him. When he arrives, the entire city comes out to meet him. Women climb onto rooftops. Children line the streets. People who have never seen him weep. The city that receives him will never be the same. Today we are walking inside that city. From the moment the Fajr call echoes across the date palms before dawn, to the stars over the flat rooftops at night. Every detail is sourced from authenticated hadith, companion accounts, and the archaeological record of 7th century Arabian urban life. This is Madinah. It looked nothing like what you have imagined. Before we walk through a single day, you need to understand what kind of city Madinah actually was. Forget the images of the modern city, the vast white mosque, the gleaming minarets, the millions of pilgrims. That Madinah is a construction of the last 14 centuries. The Medina the Prophet, peace be upon him, arrived in was a scattered collection of settlements, rather than a single unified city. The Arabic sources describe it as a series of neighborhoods called mahallat, each dominated by a particular tribe, separated by date palm groves, agricultural plots, and open ground. The two main Arab tribes were the Aus and the Khazraj, 3 significant Jewish tribes. The Banu Kainuka, Banu Nadir, and Banu Qurayza occupied their own fortified settlements called Ataum, stone strongholds built for defense. There was no city center in the modern sense, no central market, no single main street, no unified administrative district. It was a collection of tribal neighborhoods that happened to share the same valley. The climate was harsh. Summer temperatures reached 40 degrees or more. The valley trapped heat. Water was available. Medina had more wells than Mecca. The agricultural land was limited, and the date palm was the economic foundation of everything. This is the city the Prophet, peace be upon him, would spend the last 10 years of his life transforming. Every day in Medina began the same way, before the sun, before the birds, in the deepest part of the night when the desert air was at its coldest. The call to Fajr prayer. Bilal ibn Rabah, the companion the Prophet, peace be upon him, appointed as the first muaddin, the caller to prayer, had a voice described by those who heard it as carrying across the entire settlement. He would climb to the highest available point and call, "God is the greatest. God is the greatest. I bear witness that there is no God but God. I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of God. Come to prayer. Come to success." And then the line unique to Fajr, "Prayer is better than sleep. Prayer is better than sleep." Across Medina, in mud brick rooms with low ceilings and packed earth floors, people stirred on their reed mats. The night's cold had settled into the walls. The air smelled of dust and wood smoke from the previous evening's cooking fire. There were no beds as we understand them. Companions describe sleeping on simple reed mats, sometimes on a leather mat, sometimes directly on the packed earth floor. The covering was whatever garment you had worn that day. Aisha, the Prophet's wife, described the household rising in darkness, performing wudu, the ritual washing before prayer, from a clay vessel of water kept near the door, and making their way to the mosque. Every morning, without exception, The house of the Prophet, peace be upon him, was not a palace. It was not large. It was not decorated. It was not distinguished from its neighbors by any outward sign of status or wealth. It was a series of small rooms built from mud brick and date palm trunk timber, arranged around the eastern wall of the mosque. Each room, called a hujra, was approximately 3 to 4 meters square. The ceiling was low enough that a tall man would nearly touch it. The roof was made of date palm fronds laid across palm trunk beams, sealed with mud. When it rained, which was rare, it was heavy and the roof leaked. Companions described seeing the Prophet, peace be upon him, praying while rain dripped through the ceiling, mud forming on his prayer mat. The floor was packed earth. There was no furniture in the Western sense. No chairs, no tables, no raised beds. Aisha described the household possessions in terms that are almost impossible to absorb from a modern perspective. She said the family of Muhammad, peace be upon him, never filled themselves with wheat bread for 3 consecutive days from the time he arrived in Medina until he left this world. The man who governed a growing state, who sent ambassadors, who received delegations from across Arabia, ate like the poorest of his companions by choice. His bed, described in multiple hadith accounts, was a leather mat stuffed with date palm fiber. When Umar ibn al-Khattab once visited, and when he saw the marks the mat had left on the Prophet's side, he wept. The Prophet asked why he was crying. Umar said that the kings of Persia and Rome sleep on silk and gold, and you are the messenger of God. The Prophet said, "Are you not pleased that they have this world, and we have the next?" That was the house. The center of everything in Medina was not the market. It was not the tribal stronghold. It was not the governor's residence. It was the mosque. And the mosque of the Prophet, peace be upon him, was nothing like what stands in Medina today. The original structure was built in the first year after the migration, approximately 623 of the Common Era. It was built by the Prophet, peace be upon him, together with his companions, all of them carrying mud bricks and date palm trunks. The dimensions of the original mosque were approximately 35 meters long and 30 meters wide. The walls were mud brick to the height of a man. The roof was date palm fronds on palm trunk columns. The floor was open ground, sand and packed earth. There was no carpet, no marble, no decoration of any kind. When it rained, the floor turned to mud. Companions described prostrating in prayer on wet earth, mud on their foreheads. The mosque had 3 doors. The Qibla, the direction of prayer, was initially toward Jerusalem, then changed to Mecca in the 2nd year of the Hijra. When the direction changed, the companions who were mid-prayer simply turned around in the middle of the prayer. The Quran had just been revealed in that moment. Every mosque in Medina shifted direction simultaneously. The mosque was not only a place of prayer, it was the court of justice, the place where delegations were received, where the sick were treated, where travelers without shelter slept. A long covered area on the north side called the Suffah housed the companions who had no home and no family, the al-Suffah, some of whom numbered over 400 at various times. They slept in the mosque, they ate whatever was brought to them, they spent their days in learning and their nights in prayer. The mosque was the city. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, arrived in Medina, the main market was controlled by the Banu Qaynuqa, one of the Jewish tribes. He established a new market. He walked to an open piece of ground and said, "This is your market. Do not let it be constricted. Do not charge for its stalls. A free market. No rent, no fees, no tribal gatekeeping." The Medina market sold dates, the primary currency and caloric foundation of the entire economy, barley and wheat when available. dried meat, leather goods, cloth from Yemen and from the trading caravans that passed through, tools, clay vessels, livestock. Prices were set by the market. The Prophet, peace be upon him, refused to fix prices even when companions asked him to. During a period of high prices, he said, "God is the one who fixes prices, who withholds and gives abundantly. I hope to meet my Lord without any of you having a claim against me for injustice in blood or property." The market ran during the day. Transactions were conducted in silver dirhams and gold dinars when available, and more commonly in barter, dates for cloth, labor for food, livestock for tools. Women participated in the market. This is documented. Female companions are recorded as sellers and buyers, and in at least one case a market inspector appointed by the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a woman named Samra bint Nuhaik, who patrolled the market ensuring fair dealing. Walk through Medina in the year 625. The streets are narrow. In the older tribal sections of the city, they are barely wide enough for two people to pass comfortably. The mud brick walls of houses rise on both sides, absorbing the heat of the sun. The smell is complex. Date palms everywhere, their fibrous trunks, their dropping fruit in season, the sharp green scent of the fronds, cooking fires of dried dung and wood, animals, camels, goats, sheep, horses, workers whose presence is constant and whose smell is part of the air. The sound is constant. The 5 daily calls to prayer structuring the entire day. Between them, the hand mill, women grinding grain in the early morning and again in the afternoon, the rhythmic scrape of stone on stone that was the background music of every settlement in the ancient world. Children, animals, the occasional ring of a blacksmith's hammer from the craftsman's quarter. The people you pass are not all Arab. Medina in this period is genuinely multicultural. Arab Muslims of the Ayyubis and Khazraj, the Muhajirun, the migrants from Mecca who arrived with the Prophet, peace be upon him, who had left everything behind. Jewish traders and farmers, a Persian companion, Salman al-Farisi, who had traveled from Persia seeking the final prophet. An Ethiopian, Bilal, who called the city to prayer 5 times a day. A Roman Byzantine background among some of the traders who passed through. The Prophet, peace be upon him, walked these streets without a guard. He is documented visiting the sick, attending funerals, accepting invitations to meals from the poorest companions, playing with children, sitting with the elderly. He was not in a palace. He was in the street. Let us walk through a complete day. Fajr prayer before dawn. The entire Muslim community of Medina prayed together in the mosque, led by the Prophet, peace be upon him. After prayer, he would often sit in the mosque until the sun had fully risen, in remembrance of God. Companions would sit with him. Questions would be answered. The Quran would be recited. The morning meal, if there was one, was simple. Dates, barley bread if it had been baked, water, sometimes nothing at all. The late morning was for work. Companions farmed. Medina's date palm groves required constant maintenance, irrigation, pollination, and harvesting. Others traded in the market. The Muhajirun, who had arrived from Mecca with nothing, worked as day laborers, carrying goods, drawing water from wells, building structures. The Prophet, peace be upon him, is documented working alongside his companions during construction projects. During the building of the mosque, he carried mud bricks himself. During the digging of the trench before the Battle of the Trench, he dug alongside the other men, his stomach tied with a stone against hunger, striking the hard rock with a pickaxe. The leader of a state, digging a trench with a pickaxe. Dur prayer at midday. Asr prayer in the mid-afternoon. The structure of the day was not a clock, it was the sun. The evening meal was the main meal, whatever the household had. Dates and water on the difficult days, barley bread with olive oil on better days, meat on days of celebration or when a guest arrived, hospitality demanding the best available regardless of the host's own hunger. Maghrib prayer at sunset, Isha prayer in the early night, then sleep, early. Oil lamps gave little light and oil was not wasted. The night was for rest and for the voluntary prayers that the Prophet, peace be upon him, performed in the last third of every night, rising in darkness to pray while the city slept. In 10 years, the Prophet, peace be upon him, transformed this scattered tribal settlement into the capital of a state that would within a century stretch from Spain to Central Asia. But the city itself changed too. The mosque was expanded twice during his lifetime as the community grew. The market grew. New neighborhoods developed as people migrated from across Arabia to be near him. And yet the house remained the same low mud brick rooms, the same leaking palm frond roof, the same leather mat on the packed earth floor. When he died in 632 Common Era, in the room of Aisha, his head in her lap, the state he had built encompassed the entire Arabian Peninsula. The room where he died was the same room where he had always lived. No larger, no more decorated, no more comfortable than the day he arrived. Come back to where we started. A man on a camel, arriving in a desert city, welcomed by people weeping on rooftops. You now know the city he walked into. The narrow streets, the mud brick homes, the date palm groves, the free market. The mosque, built with his own hands from palm trunks and packed earth. The rooms where his family slept on leather mats and went days without cooking a meal. You know the sound of that city. The call to prayer, the grinding stone, the children, the animals, the blacksmith's hammer. You know the smell, dates and dust and cooking smoke, and the desert air before dawn. And you know the man who walked those streets without a guard, who dug trenches alongside his companions, who led a state from a room smaller than most modern bathrooms. History remembers the empires and the armies and the centuries of transformation that followed. But it started here, in this city, on these streets, in this house. Mud brick and date palms and 5 prayers a day. If this brought Medina to life for you in a way it never had before, hit the like button and subscribe. And I want to know which detail changed how you see this city. The house with the leaking roof, the free market, or the trench being dug by the Prophet himself. Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.